Good afternoon and welcome to Policing TV. I'm delighted here today in Corby, Northamptonshire, to be joined by Assistant Chief Constable Dennis Murray. Dennis, Assistant Chief Constable in Thames Valley.
I am, yes.
We're actually on Northamptonshire Police's grounds here today, and we have that permission from them to be here. Dennis, we're going to be talking about your background, what led you to join policing, and some of the challenges that you and your family experienced whilst you were growing up. This is the neighbourhood, this is the street that you grew up in, is it not?
This is the very one. And at that time, back in, well, I was born in 1970, we were one of only 3 families of colour in the whole of Corby town.
It's quite remarkable. We've done a little bit of filming and we'll go on a bit of a journey that brings in your experience in your youth prior to your joining the police. But take us through what it was like growing up in this area then.
So whilst it was a good area, as kids we didn't know any different, but it was an area that was a lot of underprivileged people. There was poverty, lots of unemployment, drugs use. Some of the people I went to school with sadly aren't here anymore in relation to it. So it was an area that had its challenges. Like a lot of the estates that we see across country, it was low-level housing, a lot of council houses, a lot of rent-a-room type houses on these estates. So some real challenges around antisocial behaviour, crime and disorder, and all of those things really. So, and there wasn't, I mean, whilst this street alone actually turned out 3 police officers from this street, not many people on this estate became police officers.
That's quite remarkable. 3 in this relatively short street, short cul-de-sac, became police officers. We may come back to that in a moment. We certainly will a little later. We're going to visit the graves of your parents. Quite really a key experience, you know, out of respect to your parents and to understand more about your family background that led you to moving into this street in Corby. Before we come on to that though, let's understand more about those experiences as a youngster, and I think perhaps starting with the experiences that relate to your brothers being assaulted. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so my brother used to walk here down the hill, just down to the right here, and he used to go to the local school, which is only a couple of minutes away. But actually some older children used to racially abuse him, used to hold him down and physically jump on his stomach. He was 7 years old and he was found under the stairs painting himself white, because at 7 years old that made sense to him that would stop the problems. My parents went to the police. The police said they couldn't do anything because in those days there was no legislation for such a thing as a race crime. So effectively their trust in the police service was not very good. My brother, eventually recovered, but it had an effect on the family and me. I had to go to a school 5 miles away rather than go to the school locally, because my parents didn't trust that to be safe. So it had a knock-on effect. And actually, when I said I was going to join the police, my parents didn't want that to happen. Well, I say my parents, my mother, because my dad had passed away after that. But that long-lasting legacy of distrust was there because of the negative experiences that they had had. And as a person of colour living in a town that was predominantly white, those challenges were quite significant. But actually the only way to change that was to effectively join the police and change the system for the better from within. Now, my first positive experience of a police officer was where one of my family members was a victim of crime. He came round, he dealt with it really, really effectively, and he approached me and said, have you thought about joining? The country was going through a credit crunch at that point, so unemployment was high. So I joined the specials at his suggestion and absolutely loved it. I knew that was the career for me, and kind of applied 9 months later and got into the police service. And here we are today, 33 years later.
So that's an example of a neighbourhood police officer who really impressed you with the way in which they handled that particular family experience of policing, reached out to you, encouraged you to apply, helped you understand that policing was a career that might be for you, and a career that you pursued with your mother really not being enthusiastic about it, putting it mildly.
No, I mean, her exact words were, "If you join the police, I'll disown you." And I said, "Well, you know, I've seen it. I've been a special. I want to do it. It's the career that I want to do. I'm going to do it." Now she came round. She was at my passing out parade, you know, and everything worked out well, and she was very proud. But actually, there are people out there who will be going through exactly the same sorts of fears and misapprehensions around policing. Their parents will have concerns, and I guess my story is about helping them understand that they can get past those concerns and that policing could be a career for them.
So, a fantastic example of with your background. You had a family who had moved here from India. You were in an environment that perhaps was distrustful of policing, yet you joined the police. You've made a fantastic career in your 34 years in policing. You've been awarded the Queen's Police Medal amongst many other notable achievements. You would encourage others from diverse communities to think of a career in policing, to apply.
Absolutely. If you think, what does success look like having come from a story like that? My sister-in-law is a PCSO. My brother is the custody manager for Northants Police, and moving on actually to work for Community Payback shortly. My nephew's a prison officer. The family are now working for public services. So a family that had distrust for that public service approach are now all key individuals within the public services themselves. And that's the sort of change you can bring about by taking that step forward. The phrase I use is that nobody has ever achieved anything standing on the sidelines. You have to be part of it to change things and make things better.
We're going to continue here in Corby with some further visits, and we're going to end up in this particular video at the police station, the first police station that you joined at, that you paraded at. I'm not sure whether it's still a police station though.
No, it's not now. They've built a purpose-built joint station between Corby and Kettering. I actually was the senior responsible officer for building that building when I was in Northants Police. So we'll see the old building, but actually I had some great times there, and it was the kind of pinnacle of my career. When I was a superintendent, I had the real honour of coming back here as the area commander, which was another highlight of my career in respect of my police service. But actually, you know, when you look at the sort of story that I tell, how does that become of use to anybody now? Well, you know, as Thames Valley Police ACC, I dealt with a particular community in Thames Valley who were from a minority community, and they had had 4 murders in 5 months in that area. They didn't trust the police, and when I went and met with them, they stood there and they said, "We've got poor jobs, we live in poor housing, we haven't got any real education, and therefore life's really hard, and therefore this is just to be expected." And I was able to stand up and say, "Well, hang on, no, this is me, this is the background I came from," telling them the story that I've just kind of told you. And now actually what's happened since then, we've got a developed community plan. The Police and Crime Commissioner has funded that plan. We have had no murders in that community. We meet regularly with the young people there. One of the members of our Independent Scrutiny and Oversight Board is a key community leader within that community, and we've built bridges that we didn't think was possible, just from the fact that we've utilised representation to good effect. So I think that's a prime example of what we can do with this. It's a really good example of why we say that having a diverse workforce benefits everybody, because they're the benefits that come out of it.
We're going from here then to the site of your first school. We're going from there to pay our respects to your parents, and from there on then to the location of that first police station. For the time being though, Dennis Murray, QPM, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.